Today is Maundy, Thursday. It's one of the days that falls between Palm Sunday and Easter. It is named after the Latin word mandatum, which means commandment. So this is the day to remember a very specific commandment. You might call it a new commandment that Jesus gave to his disciples. Maundy, Thursday. Commandment Thursday, you might call it. Well, what commandment was it? Well, we need to roll back a little bit to get the context of what happened. We are, as it were, in the middle of something called the Passover celebration. The Passover is something that happened 480 years prior, when the people of Israel were slaves in Egypt. They had struggled all this time, and now God was setting them free. And that is what the Passover event was about, okay? And God had said, since God had redeemed God's people, they were to every year come back to Jerusalem and celebrate this Passover. And it included a meal. So Jesus is gathered in the upper room with his disciples to celebrate this Passover meal. They are not exactly seated at a table like we would at home. In those days, they reclined at table, and that meant that they just sort of sat on their backside and their feet was not too far away because there wasn't a big table. They just sort of reclined at table, and there was a very low table just in front of them from which they ate, which meant that washing your feet and having pleasant feet was important to come to table. Otherwise, everybody's feet was exposed. It just was not a very pleasant occasion. And for that reason, Jewish people made it an issue of hospitality to have somebody in the household wash the feet of people as they came into the home. And that job fell to the servant of the house. Not just any servant, it was a job of the lowliest servant. And this very low servant was often not even a Jew. This would be somebody who had been brought in from another nation, maybe as a booty of war, and just serving in Israel. So that was the job of the lowliest of servants. So imagine with me the disciples reclined at table. And the problem is that this particular home was simply being rented for the occasion. So there wasn't a provided servant to wash the feet. So there they are, staring at each other. They had been involved in an argument only a few chapters prior about who would be the greatest of them when Jesus' kingdom came. When Jesus finally ruled over Israel and the Romans were gone, well, who would be in his cabinet and what would that person do? And so they were arguing about all of this. Well, here we are. We're looking for somebody to wash the feet of the disciples, and no one was found. And it says Jesus got up from his chair, he put his outer cloak off, and proceeded to wash the feet of the disciples. And he used the towel that was around his waist to dry. Tradition says that there were 12 disciples in the room. And as he started washing their feet, no doubt they were aghast. When he came to Peter, Peter said, "No way, are you washing my feet?" Jesus said, "Unless I wash you, you have no part of me." Peter said, "Well, not just my feet then. Wash my hands, wash my head." When Jesus was done washing the feet of the disciples, he put his outer robe on and sat down. And you can imagine all eyes were on him. And he asked the disciples, "You are wondering what this means. Let me tell you what it means." And here we read from John chapter 13, between verse 12 and verse 17. He says, "You call me Lord and Master." And you're right. I'm your Lord, I'm your Master. And I have washed your feet today. I'm setting an example for you of what I want you to do for one another. I want you to wash one another's feet. I want you to find humble ways to serve one another. I don't want you to compete and jockey for power and position as they do in the world. That's not what you're about. You are to be people who serve one another humbly. And then he says in verse 17, "If you know these things and you do them, you are blessed." What does that mean? To be blessed means to be very fortunate, to be very happy, to be in a preferred position. If we know these things and we do them. So on this Maundy, Thursday, may I remind you, as we observe social distancing, if you happen to live with other believers, how about foot washing? Not just to talk about it, but really set out a basin, a towel, and as an act of humble service, wash each other's feet. In practical terms, it may also even flow into forgiving one another. Maybe something has happened that is tearing you up. This is a time of restoration, a time of mutual serving. So that's what Maundy, Thursday is about, a special commandment of Jesus to his disciples. Humble enough to wash somebody's feet, and humble enough to receive somebody else washing your feet. See how that works. God bless you as you practice this on your own.